Alrighty, good morning, Miss Hawkins class. So, we're going to read Pinocchio today. We're on chapter 9 now. Pinocchio Mourns the Fairy is the title. With the weight of the dog collar off his neck, Pinocchio felt so light he practically flew across the fields and meadows beyond the trees where he'd been hung. He ran until he got to the road that would take him to Fairy's house. When he reached the spot where the house used to be, however, there was nothing there. In fact, there was only a marble slab which was carved. Here lies the lovely fairy who died of grief when abandoned by Pinocchio. Pinocchio gasped and burst into tears. He could not believe that his beloved fairy was dead. "Oh, fairy," he said to the air because there was no one there to hear him. "You're not really dead, are you? Please come back. I'm so lonely. Don't you feel sorry for me? You're dead, and my father is lost. Who will take care of me?" Pinocchio was so upset that he tried to tear his hair off, but it was painted on his wooden head, so he couldn't even grab it. He was attempting to flake off some of the paint instead when a large pigeon flew overhead. "Excuse me," the pigeon said. "I don't mean to interrupt you, but do you by chance know where I can find a boy named Pinocchio?" Pinocchio leaped up. "Why, I'm Pinocchio," he cried. "So you know Geppetto?" "Do I know him? He's my father." "Is he still alive? Will you take me to him?" "He's on the beach," the pigeon replied. "He thinks you're across the sea. He's building a boat to cross the ocean and find you." "Oh," Pinocchio cried, "I must get to him at once. But how shall I get there? If only I had your wings." "Are you heavy?" the pigeon asked. "Why, I'm light as a feather," Pinocchio replied. "What's one more of those?" the pigeon said. "Climb aboard. I'll take you." Within a few seconds, the pigeon and passenger were in the cool, misty clouds. They flew and flew. By the next day, they had reached the shore. "Thank you," Pinocchio exclaimed. "Good luck," the pigeon replied, and flew away. Turning toward the ocean, Pinocchio quickly realized that something was wrong. Crowds of people stood at the edge of the shore, wailing as they looked out over the water. Running over to join them, Pinocchio asked an old woman what was happening. "A poor father lost his only son some time ago, and just today he finished a tiny boat that he was building to go find him. We were all very excited for him when he set out a few minutes ago, but the water is very rough, and we now are afraid he will drown." Pinocchio squinted and looked out over the sea. Finally, he spotted the tiny boat, which was by then so far out on the horizon that it was only a speck. "Father!" he cried, waving energetically, but of course Geppetto was too far away to hear him or see him. Rushing over to a high rock, Pinocchio even tried to wave his nose like a tiny flag to signal Geppetto to shore. Suddenly, however, Geppetto did seem to see Pinocchio. The old man stood up and waved back. "I'm coming back in," he seemed to be saying with hand gestures. And he might have done just that had not a huge wave suddenly come and overtake the boat. The sea seemed to swallow Geppetto in one gulp. "Poor man," the crowd sighed. A few people muttered prayers. Then, thinking the excitement was over, most of them turned to go home. But just then, a desperate cry was heard. The people turned around and watched as a tiny puppet, Pinocchio, dove bravely into the sea. "I'll save you, father," he uttered the first time he came up for air. "Poor puppet," the crowd sighed again. A few people muttered some more prayers. Then, thinking the excitement really over this time, most of them once again turned for home. Alrighty. So check in tomorrow for chapter 10.